Exiles. Today I want to talk to you about how I made a mirror in Path of Exile over the past 3 days, and I guess an hour or two this morning, while I was taking care of my son, baby Lance, as I thought this was pretty profitable, pretty cool. You probably could still make okay currency with this method I'm going to show you, but honestly, it's going to get more and more competitive in the next couple days here, and I think the profit margins will die off very quickly, and it won't be worth doing. But something to think about doing in the next league. I've done this sort of method a couple times in previous leagues, and it's always worked well in the first week and a half to 2 weeks roughly. After that, the profit margins fall off vastly as more and more people try to compete in the market, and less people need this type of gear. So what I'm going to talk about today is the method which I'm going to coin as. I don't know if this is what you would call it, but it's splitting astral plates, adding a random influence, and using this to basically make currency. You can do this with Val Regalias too, but typically I find early league there is a much higher market for people that are playing life-based builds to buy these 6-link chess pieces. I think Val Regalias are not quite as popular early on, or are harder to make fast sales on, so I like doing it with astral plates. But the method goes like this. You buy an original base plate, and I'll show you what that looks like in game. It'll look like this. Somebody in the league made a 6-link chess piece that was 6 white sockets. The way this is made is you Varici it to 3 white sockets, and then you buy Harvest white socket crafts, which is extremely rare and extremely RNG. Every time you do it, it's basically a 1.5 chance you hit a 4th white socket, then it goes to a 1 in 3 chance you hit a 5th white socket, and then a 1 in 6 chance you get the 6th white socket. It's very costly because these crafts are very rare. Once you do it, some group did it, and they released an uninfluenced base to the market. I bought it for 140C, and I began to beast split it. So what it works, or how it works, is basically you split the beast, or you buy the split beast, which is the Fenwell Plagued Arachnid. For my cost was roughly around 70 to 110C. Most of these I bought are around 90C, I would say, but this is roughly the range I was buying them in. You'd buy rare beast. You'll have some just because you played the game, you've picked up some rare beasts, but you'll run out very quickly. And I was buying rare beasts at 1 to 2 chaos, so you could buy a bunch of these, and they'd add 6C to the cost per craft. Then you'd buy the add and influence armor craft from somebody on the TFT Discord. Roughly, I could get these for around 30 to 40C. It wasn't too bad. You just had to message in the want to buy section, or find people on the want to sell section and message them. Generally, this is the price you could get it for. And so on a total average, I'd say I averaged around 130C per chest. Now, when this comes to the sell value of these chests, it's a 1 in 6 chance to hit every influence. Roughly, the profit margins were like this. And on the higher end, initially when I started doing this, these were all on the kind of the higher end here. It didn't happen till more recently that they've fallen to around 270, 200C, 200C, and that's what I'm talking about. As the league goes on, these sort of methods will become less and less profitable as more people start doing it, and there becomes more competition in the market. But initially, if we hit a Crusader chess piece, we'd instantly be able to sell it for 270 to 5x, and then so on and so forth for the rest of the chess pieces. Basically, you'd make money if you hit any of these chess pieces, and you'd lose a little bit of money if you hit Redeemer or Shaper. Now, when it comes to total profit, on average, if we did 6 copies of these chess pieces, we'd make 690C, which this is a huge amount of profit considering if I was actually trying to focus up and do this in an efficient manner, I could do it in about 10 minutes. So over the course of the hour, I could make roughly 3,500 chaos if I was actually focusing up, messaging a bunch of people, doing it all efficiently, which I really wasn't. You know, I would stop to I'd stop to feed baby Lance a bottle. I'd mess around with trying to put him to bed. I'd mess around changing his diaper. I'd miss sales doing stuff. You know, there's a lot of screwing around going around because, you know, I'm taking care of my baby and he's the priority. So I'd say you could probably do this in 10 minutes, get 6 copies, at influence 6 copies, etc. But more than likely, I was probably taking on average somewhere between 30 minutes, maybe even longer, depending on how much other stuff I was messing around with. I did have the advantage of, say, if I was feeding him, this is where the benefit of doing like a crafting, currency making method comes into play. If I was feeding him, like for example, I'd be sitting right there, somebody could message me, I could reach over to my mouse right here, and I could still invite them and sell the chess piece even while I was feeding him. So stuff like that worked out fine, but this isn't, definitely wasn't really efficient. You know, the reality is, taking care of a 3-month-old baby is actually quite intensive on labor. So the fact that I was able to make a mirror's worth of currency doing this, I think speaks to how profitable it was. That being said, I think the profit margin is going to go vastly down in the next week here. So if you get on it early. But if not, I would also say this is a very boring thing to do. I didn't have a lot of fun doing it. I was just mostly doing it because I wanted to see if I could get my first mirror ever. I've never had a mirror of Calandria, and that's why I was doing it. So next up, as the market changed and shifted, it was no longer the best idea to just sell these uncrafted and make a quick profit. What you could also do is you could craft on these items and to make a much better profit margin and also diversify the items you were selling. Say if I went and I split 40 chess pieces and I had 6 of each kind ready to sell, if I was selling them just uncrafted, I would be competing with myself to try to sell all 6 of the pieces. But if I went and I crafted like half of them or 75% of them, I could then be selling to people who just want to buy a chess piece already crafted, as well as the people that want to buy the base. So this makes it so you can sell your chess pieces faster and move more product. So moving on to cost of crafting, the initial cost, same as it was before, 130C, and I would buy, my crafting method would be prismatic fossils and pristine fossils. Roughly it would take about 5 resonators worth of fossils to hit a decent chess piece with life and resistances, and then we would use basically 1 to 2 harvest crafts to then add in T1 crit chance for spells, T1 crit chance for attacks, or the minus mana cost warlord craft. These were the crafts that I said were high value, high impact, and I had mentioned that in a previous video before the league launch, and they were definitely high value for me. Then I would do 5 scours, 5 potent alchemical resonators, and then around 60C on average. I would say on average you take 2 crafts between a remove non-add and a remove add to hit tier 1 crit. If you're doing Warlord, it's guaranteed on the first try, so it'd be 30C for Warlord, etc. So on total average, if I wanted to have a crafted chess piece, I'm looking at 233 cost. And then let's move on to the profit margins. If I was actually crafting these things and then selling these things, a Crusader that was 6-linked with a Explode mod on it sold usually around 7 to 8x, even if it had the Fizz taken as lightning. If it didn't have Fizz taken as lightning, you could probably add another X onto the cost. So if you went and bought a remove lightning for 40C, you could add an extra 40C profit in there. Warlord, on average, we made around 290C. This is only a little bit more than the Elder and Hunter because the Warlord was guaranteed to hit the minus mana cost first try. Elder and Hunter, however, could hit tier 2 crit, and then you'd have to do remove add crit, or not remove add crit, remove add attack to basically one more time on average to hit the tier 1 crit. So Hunter and Warlord, or Hunter and not Warlord, Hunter and Elder averaged around 250C per plate. And then Shaper, I basically broke even when I crafted it, so it wasn't really worth it to craft Shaper. I still did it a few times. And then Redeemer was generally just a loss in currency. I would not craft on Redeemers. I would just sell them for the loss and recoup your funds to buy more B-splits. And then on average, after you calculated all this, after doing 6 copies, we'd make about 1090C. So this was a longer process because we'd have to buy the remove non-add crafts from people, generally on 6 chess piece. If I was going to put on Crusader chess piece, I'd have to buy 2 Fizz crafts. For Warlord, I'd have to buy 1 craft. For Elder, I'd have to buy, on average, 2 crafts. Hunter, average 2 crafts, stuff like that. That extra, like, 7 or 8 transactions would add, I don't know, a good 10 minutes, a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes of time. So on average, I'd say it was somewhere closer to 30 minutes to an hour of effort. But still, a really good profit margin for that amount of time and that amount of investment. I'm going to quickly show you some examples of chess pieces I were making so you get an idea of what we'd make. Basically, if we'd throw prismatic and pristine fossils, eventually we'd hit high life, maybe a res, maybe recover life on kill, maybe life recovery rate. Basically what you'd do is you'd get it to the point where you have 1 good life roll, and then you'd want some okay prefixes. You'd want the prefixes full, then you do a non-add, and it'd be guaranteed to hit minus cost of mana. An Elder chess piece I made, some examples to show you what we're looking with. On average, you can sell these things around 7 to 8x, sometimes 6x if it's a bad roll. I did sell some T2 crit rolls on Elder and Hunter for around 4 to 5x each. And then some Shaper plates I'm trying to sell, but probably wasn't worth crafting, but I did it anyways, so we'll see if we can sell those. Now that's the main way I made the currency. I'm actually a little bit over 1 mirror's worth. I have another 30x worth of currency here. And then I also did a couple other methods where I tried to make currency, but I failed. Some examples of that were, I crafted a bunch of fractured jewels, and I listed them for a bunch of prices in between 50 and 2x, or 50C and 2x. I've sold maybe 4 of those jewels or so. I've made roughly 400C back, but my initial investment was about 1,000 chaos, and I spent maybe 2 hours crafting all these. Complete waste of time. If I had just done more beast splits instead of doing this, I probably could have been well on my way to 1.5 mirrors. And then on top of that, I also made these bows. These bows took a lot of my time. I probably put close to, I want to say 35x into them, and I haven't sold them, and they spent a lot of my time. So I'm saying if I didn't do these crafts and I just kept doing the split crafts and selling those, I probably would have made close to 2 mirrors. The way this started is on Tuesday, I walked in with 270 chaos in my bag, in my bank. I don't know. I had 270 chaos. I bought 1 original copy, bought a beast split it. I hit Crusader on the first try. Very lucky there, but that funded basically all my initial beast splits where I'd buy copies, I'd influence them, and I'd sell them, and I moved on from there. Every time you'd sell a batch, you'd make more currency than you did the last time, so on and so forth. And so that's the story of how I went from 270 chaos to 1 mirror and some change in roughly the course of 3 days while being very distracted, taking care of my baby, making sure he's doing well. So hopefully you can learn from me, and maybe you can make some currency off this next league. This league, if you do it now, I'd get it on it very early. I think the profit margin for this method is going to drop off quickly, and I would just keep this in the back of your mind if you're going to want to make currency in the next league. I think it generally works in the first week to week and a half as a very good profit margin. So that's pretty much the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really excited for the first time. Well, actually, one quick thing before I stop. You'll see I bought these in mirror shards. This was a mistake. I made this mistake. I actually could have saved myself money by just buying a mirror flat outright. At the time, last night, I had roughly about 120x, and I saw that mirrors were going for 140, 150 on the site. That's what they were listed for, and I was thinking to myself, oh man, I'm so close, but I just can't buy it. I really should go to bed, you know. It's getting late. It was like midnight, 12:30, something around there. It was getting late, wanted to go to bed. But I was like so close, I was like, okay, you know what I'll do? In case the mirror price is going to jack up by the next day, I'll just go buy some mirror shards. And I saw them listed for 8x per. And I thought to myself, 8x per? That's only 120x. I can literally just buy them if I just sit here and buy 1 shard at a time. But except I suck at math, because 8x per puts it at 160x. And I definitely overpaid for my mirror buying these shards. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to combine this. And eventually, I'm going to sell them for, I guess, a higher cost than the actual cost of the mirrors, because I guess maybe it's more expensive to buy it piecemeal, so that way people can work towards their mirror, because mirrors are generally going up in price as the league goes on and whatnot. And so that way I can also fund my builds, just selling a couple mirror shards here and there. That's why I'm not going to go ahead and combine this into 1 mirror, but this is the first mirror I've ever made in Path of Exile, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video I'm making on it, and you can learn from it, and I will see you guys hopefully today. I'm going to be streaming, and then the rest of the weekend, because my wife graciously offered to take the baby up to the mother-in-law. So anyways, I'll see you guys all later. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace out.